Hi everyone, welcome to English Language 3. I am recording this video on behalf of the entire team of English Language 3 teachers. My own name is Marcela González de Gatti. My colleagues are Claudia Schander, Dolores Horta, Adriana Castro, Ana Avalos, and Maria Victoria Sanchez. This is the first of two videos we have prepared as a presentation of the subject and the academic plan for the current year. So let me briefly discuss the main topics I intend to refer to in this first video. I will consider some major relevant aspects of the syllabus. I will give you a general idea about the main content units that we will be addressing. You will also receive a complete list of required texts as well as information about how to access your study materials. And I will stop to comment on some major goals in terms of competencies, such as number 4, our writing goals and projects, number 5, the development of a lexical competence, and then I will close the video by giving some special attention to the grammar review component of this course. So let me first consider the syllabus. Obviously, I have no time within the scope of this video to read the entire syllabus or even consider the major aspects that you should take into account. That's why I strongly recommend that you download the full version of the syllabus from our VLE. Notice that the syllabus posted will be the 2019 syllabus, which is still in force, because according to new regulations, we are not presenting a new syllabus this year. However, because we were considering some major changes starting next year, we will be piloting some changes within the context of this present syllabus. The new one will be in force for the following 2 years, which will be 2021 and 22. Anyway, I would like to focus during this presentation on some major objectives in terms of the development of major linguistic competencies. That's why I'm going to read the main objectives straight from the syllabus, which are to extract global and specific information from authentic oral and written materials in a variety of genres, participate with fluency, grammatical accuracy, and phonetic and phonological intelligibility in spontaneous conversations, narrations, discussions, and previously prepared oral presentations and debates, displaying suitable communication strategies and demonstrating lexical competence. Use the written language in situations that respond to a specific communicative purpose and strategically using the generic conventions associated with opinion texts. Major emphasis is placed on the development of learner autonomy and critical thinking skills. In more concrete or specific terms, talking about levels of linguistic competence, we should have the following expectations. Learners should be able to move to transition from level B2 to level C1 or 2 within the common European framework of reference, or from the FCE to the CAE within the Cambridge system. That is to say, away from the first certificate level to towards the level of a Cambridge Advanced English Certificate. So this should give you a general idea that we are transitioning in level of linguistic competence in all major macro skills and soft skills, which is, a complex process, which is why we strongly recommend that you follow our instructions right from the beginning and do not waste any time, because the possibility of achieving these major goals will depend on your systematic work all along. Okay, let's consider now the main content units. The syllabus you will be downloading contains 5 units. You have to ignore unit number 5, which deals with arts, painting and music. We are no longer teaching that unit, and as I said, we were unable to make the changes this year because of the new regulations. But the 4 units which are still in force are the ones listed here on the right. Unit 1, the powers of language and the threats to its integrity. Life in society, facing the challenges of conflicts and dilemmas. These 2 units will be developed during the first semester. During the second semester, we will be addressing units 3 and 4. Life in society, this has the same label, but from another angle, from the point of view of the perils of stereotypes and prejudices, and the last unit, the amazing connections between the human mind and the body. As you can see from the listing of subtopics, I'm saying this especially having students who are having in mind students who are doing this subject for the second time. We have decided on a significant reduction of topics, mostly subtopics. That's why, for instance, within life and society, we are planning to address different kinds of conflicts, violence, the nature of a dilemma, and embryonic stem cell research. The other topics have been left out. For the new students, students doing this subject for the first time this year, this information is not relevant, but I am mentioning this in case students have saved materials from previous years. There will be significant changes, mostly a reduction in the volume of work, and then I will explain the reasons why. Okay, so let's get ready then to study units number 1 and number 2. In those groups, comisiones of students, where you have 2 main teachers, typically one is in charge of unit 1 and the other is in charge of unit 2. Okay, let's take a look then at the required bibliography. For units number 1 and number 2, as I said, there will be new sets of materials, sets of copies, which contain extracts from previous handbooks, plus complementary materials, and the lexical competence section, which, is this set of copies is, one for each of the 2 units mentioned. Now, as I said, if you have old materials, previous materials, especially those used last year, or you're doing the subject for the second time, there's no need for you to get hold of the new set of copies, because it's basically the same material, only with entire sections which have been left out. So if you plan to use old materials, make sure you study with someone, or you can take a look at the new sets of copies so as to compare and adjust your materials. If you have no previous materials, or you're doing the subject for the first time, you have to get hold of both sets of copies, one for Unit 1 and another one for Unit 2. Both sets will be available and downloadable from the from our VLE, Virtual Learning Environment. So make sure that as soon as you have watched the 2 introductory videos, you go ahead and download everything you need to study. Because, as you will realize, there will be copyright issues, since we will be uploading short stories, for instance. Because of these copyright issues, the material will be downloadable and available from the VLE for the first week. But once the first week is over, we will remove this material. We are doing this because this is an emergency that calls for practical action that will solve problems very quickly. So I insist, please, as soon as you finish watching the 2 introductory videos, download any study materials available from the VLE onto your own computer. Okay, one of the changes that we will be piloting this year is the introduction of a grammar review component. This grammar review component is a selection of units from the book My Grammar Lab. Unfortunately, this book is still unavailable. We still haven't found a digitalized version of it, but we will soon solve the problem in some ways. So do not worry about this. And this mainly explains why we have made some reductions in terms of study materials in the previous handbooks, because we need to make room, right, for this new grammar review component, which is a very important introduction that I will discuss later in the next few steps. Let's go on with the Biblio. You will need to get hold of a handbook, which is about how to write an opinion essay. The complete title of the book is Writing an Opinion Essay, Genre-Based Classroom Materials. This book has been produced by all the members of the chair, and the entire book in PDF format will be downloadable and available from the GLE. In addition, for this first semester, you will need to watch 2 movies. First, Finding Forrester, related to the unit about language, and The Hunger Games, related to the unit about conflicts. You will also read 2 short stories. The first one, Who Said We All Have to Talk Alike, obviously related to language, and then The Lottery, related to conflicts. Finally, you will need to read a complete novel, which is called The Kite Runner. Because it's a pretty long novel, we are requiring you to create your own reading plan for the entire year. This novel addresses many issues and is in one way or another related to all the content units. So that's why we have decided to split its study, let's say, in 2 main parts. During the first semester, you will be asked to read the first 13 chapters, and during the second semester, you will be asked to read the second part of the novel. So this is it in terms of required texts and biblio, what you need to have, what you're required to have. And as I said, please don't waste time and download these materials as soon as possible before they disappear from the VLE. In the syllabus, in the section devoted to bibliography, you will find additional materials that we recommend to improve your overall use of the language, or if you need to work on a specific aspect of your linguistic competence. That will be the recommended bibliography, but the compulsory or required bibliography is the one listed here. Now, for the second semester, for units 2 and 3, there will be other materials. Okay, let's consider for a minute step number 4, our writing goals and projects. The main the main writing objective of this course is the development of an opinion essay as an introduction to the 2 argumentative texts that you will be studying in Language 4. Again, students doing this subject for the second time will notice a difference here, because we used to develop 2 types of text, beginning with for and against essays and proceeding to develop the opinion essay. We are starting right away from the beginning of the year with the opinion essay, and we're leaving out the for and against essay. This again has to do with the current situation of a national crisis, and it also has to do with the fact that we need to make room, or we need to provide you with more time to practice your writing skills focused on a specific kind of text. We used to have what we call the OW project, the online writing workshop, which is a writing project that we developed using Google Drive. Honestly, we have no idea how this is going to work this year, because we're finding the ways in which the project is not problematic, and since we will be starting our classes in a virtual environment. We still don't know how we're going to implement it, but the idea is to have a strong writing project, no matter the format or the way in which we carry out, so that you can all practice your writing skills. And we are planning to continue with the writing center, which we started not last year but the year before, and because of the low budget we were unable to continue. Apparently the authorities have decided to invest in this writing center this year, which is a center that functions as an adjunct laboratory writing desk or something like that to the chairs of English language 2 and 3. Personally, I will be in charge of the upper intermediate section of the writing center, which corresponds roughly to the level of English language 3. I will provide you with more information later on, because I believe that because of this emergency, the budget will be available once we resume our normal classes. But anyway, this is a possibility this year, and I will inform you later about any other relevant details. Okay, how about considering step number 5, which has to do with lexical competence? If you remember what I said before, it's one of the major goals in terms of the development of linguistic competence, to address your lexical competence. And you will notice that spread through the study materials, there are a lot of lexical exercises, and you will have to work a lot with dictionaries. And when I say dictionaries, I mean more than one dictionary, and more than just a simplified internet dictionary. You must get hold of complete dictionaries such as the Cambridge, Longman, Oxford, Collins dictionaries, because one of the main topics that we will be emphasizing in terms of lexical competence is the notion that your knowledge of a word, your lexical knowledge, is very much like a picture puzzle. A picture that is made up of tiny bits that you have to put together in order to solve the puzzle, right? So that means that word knowledge actually includes any number of different features. We typically associate lexical knowledge or word knowledge with the semantic meaning of a word, ignoring other aspects of word knowledge, which are the ones that, if you don't master them, can cause you to fail a speaking or writing exam or written exam. So, for example, word knowledge includes not just the semantic knowledge, the actual definition that you find in a dictionary. Word meaning involves both denotational and connotational meanings. Very often, connotation comes through after a repetition of encounters of the same word in different contexts, which is why then I'm emphasizing the fact that you need to work with different dictionaries so that you can produce several examples of the new word, especially when it is a very, very unknown word for you. Word knowledge also includes register and restrictions in terms of register. One common mistake at this level is to have a mixture of words that belong to different registers in the same sentence. And when you are asked to produce sentences of your own using the new vocabulary, well, register plays a major role. Word associations, number 3, this is really, truly a big deal, because word associations have to do especially with the way you combine you combine words in your sentence, and you combine them in different ways through different types of word allegiances. Some words that students use in a sentence may be completely correct from the semantic point of view, but the final product is a sentence where the words simply don't go together because the word association is not an idiomatic one. And again, this is something that you acquire, a feeling, a skill that you develop after successive encounters with the same word in different contexts. Again, the importance of using several dictionaries. Of course, the word form includes the spoken and written, the actual forms of the words, how words are spelled, for example, pronounced. Very often we come across these situations in oral exams of the word that has been learned appropriately and has been used appropriately in a written context is then completely mispronounced. Students often neglect this aspect of word knowledge. When you look up a word, also take a look at the pronunciation of that word. Grammatical knowledge is also considered, part of the word knowledge. You have to identify a word, knowing what word class, what grammatical category it belongs to, in order to to use it correctly. And this involves knowledge also of affixation, how different parts of words determine changes in the grammatical category of a word. So as you can see, word knowledge is a complex issue, and one that you have to give a lot of attention. The material contains some lists of vocabulary or exercises that feature new words. You have to work with these words at length, making use of an entire range of research tools, such as corpora and other tools. For example, we strongly recommend that you get familiar with COCA, which stands for, I think, Contemporary Corpus of Contemporary American English. It's a big kind of a database that contains thousands of examples of any given word. So try using it. It's for free. It's available on the internet. You have to create an account, and you have an unlimited number of searches that you can perform. And it's very useful for this particular subject, especially for the collection of examples I was telling you was kind of crucial. And of course, throughout the course, and because of this lexical work that you have to do, you should be able to develop and consolidate a great variety of VLEs, or vocabulary learning strategies. What kind of learning strategies do you use when you want to acquire new vocabulary? Have you stopped to think? Stop to think about this and make a list about the strategies that you use. You might be surprised to learn that you make use of the same one or two strategies when there are really a lot, and we will hopefully teach you or get you acquainted with a variety of vocabulary learning strategies. But one of them, and you should start to develop as quickly as possible, soon as possible, is the use of a vocabulary notebook, which is a simple chart that you can customize on your own computer, including these various aspects of word knowledge, like, for example, semantic meaning, connotation, grammatical restrictions, register, any number of different words that can be formed, having prefixes or suffixes, and determining different grammatical categories, and of course a dictionary, not only a dictionary definition, but also a dictionary example of that word. Another strategy is the collection of examples of the same word. Again, the use of corpora and other research tools that are available on the internet will be extremely profitable in terms of this collection of examples. Target, a collection of at least 10 different examples of the same word, especially those that present a challenge to you or that you wouldn't know just based on the simple dictionary definition. You wouldn't know how to use. All right, because I insist, it's one of the major objectives of the course to help you develop a lexical competence. And lack of that lexical competence sometimes means that you write poorly, that the final draft of an opinion essay is just not up to the level required because of the lexis used or the misuse of lexical items. All right, in terms of step number 6, this grammar review component that I was telling you about, this is a new addition this year. And it simply consists of a review of certain grammatical structures which students have learned in previous subjects, especially in grammar or in other language subjects, but for some reason they haven't been quite internalized, so that there are recurrent mistakes consistently involving specific structures. And we want to put an end to that problem by giving you this complete review of grammatical structures. The review will be followed by practice in such as sentence building, transformations, text editing, etc. We consider this grammar review component is extremely important, is going to be extremely important this year, and because it will have a direct impact on your speaking and writing competencies. And here is part of the explanation of why we have proceeded to reduce part of the volume of your study materials in the various content units, because we need to make some room for this new practice. Okay, and I think this is it. In the next video, I will be taking a look at these items. So please don't forget to to watch the second video.